History measures legacy in predictable ways. Great empires are built through conquest, immense wealth, and overwhelming military might. We remember the names of emperors who fielded massive armies and dictated global borders by force. Yet the most recognized and influential figure in human history possessed none of these traditional tools of power. He was born into a heavily taxed, militarily occupied Roman territory. He grew up working as a tradesman and carpenter in an obscure provincial village, far removed from the centers of global commerce. He held no political office, he commanded no troops, owned no property, and wrote no books. Despite a total lack of worldly assets, his global footprint outlasts the empires that ruled over him. His life operated as a complete inversion of human power structures. Where earthly leaders hoarded authority to subjugate others, he consistently gave it away. To understand his impact, we have to examine a life that uniquely combined breathtaking humility with an absolute, inexplicable authority. His public ministry lasted roughly 3 years. In that short window, he delivered radical moral teachings. He instructed his followers to love their enemies and declared that the meek, not the ruthless, would inherit the earth. In the survival of the fittest reality of the first-century world, these ideas contradicted the societal logic of Roman dominance and self-preservation. He backed this moral philosophy with tangible supernatural proof, performing miracles that established his divine authority. He demonstrated command over the human body, curing blindness and restoring mobility to the paralyzed. He also commanded the physical forces of nature, stilling violent storms with a single word. This combination of extreme compassion and supernatural power caused his public profile to expand rapidly across the region. By displaying unchecked authority fueled by radical love, he became a threat to the religious and political elite, who relied on strict control to maintain order. Tension in Jerusalem reached a boiling point. The religious authorities and Roman political establishment colluded to neutralize him. An insider from his closest circle turned him over to the authorities, leading to an armed capture in the dead of night. The man who commanded the weather and healed the dying now stood motionless. He allowed temple guards to bind him, offering no resistance as they led him away. He was subjected to Roman crucifixion, a public, agonizing execution designed to inflict maximum physical pain and total humiliation. While hanging on the cross, he chose not to condemn his executioners or defend his own innocence. Instead, he asked God to forgive the soldiers driving the nails. Faced with a gruesome death, he lived out his command to love his enemies. It was the physical proof of his philosophy. To the crowds watching, this appeared to be a total, shameful defeat. The authority figure they had followed was now yielding to human execution. But the physical narrative did not end at the crucifixion. 3 days later, his tomb was found empty. For his followers, this event confirmed his identity and the authority of the words he had spoken during his ministry. The empty tomb recast the execution as a deliberate victory over death. In the decades following his death, his followers carried his message across the Roman Empire, establishing communities centered on service to the poor. Over centuries, his emphasis on the least of these became a cornerstone for modern concepts of human rights and universal charity. He introduced a social order where influence is gained through sacrifice and love, rather than the mechanics of physical force. 2,000 years later, the records of history and the dates on our calendars remain centered on the 3 years he spent in the Galilean countryside.